Am I the a-hole for yelling at my mom that I am not a stay-at-home wife, mom, even though I haven't worked in 19 years, then told her to leave my home? So, I am 50 female, have been married to my husband, 53 male, for 25 years, and I have 21-year twins and a 13-year-old. I used to be a network engineer for many years. I have two medical conditions that I have dealt with since I was in my early 20s. I have multiple sclerosis, MS, and adhesive arachnoiditis, AA. While most know what MS is, many probably don't know what AA is. So here is a quick description. AA is a spinal cord disorder where the nerves that come out of the base of your spine start to break down and adhere to each other. AA is a debilitating and painful condition. As a matter of fact, the pain from AA is right up the pain scale with a metastatic bone cancer. 19 years ago, my conditions became worse, and my doctors declared me permanently disabled. I went out of work and applied and was given long-term disability within 3 months of applying. So, for the last 19 years, I have of course I'm raising my kids. I do most of the cooking, but we have someone that comes in twice a week to do the cleaning and laundry, as it is impossible for me to do those things. My husband is an absolute gem. He works 8 to 10 hours a day, and thankfully works from home. He helps without my asking and has never acted negatively towards me because of my disability. My mother has always been dismissive of my medical conditions, saying that she had aches and pains but didn't let that get in her way. I have tried to explain that what I am dealing with are not simple aches and pains. I have even given her printouts on my conditions. But she continues to blow it off. Well, she arrived last week for a 2-week visit. As soon as she walked into my home, she started complaining about our clutter, things like a pile of mail. During her visit, her remarks became more frequent and nasty until she told me I am a terrible stay-at-home wife, mom. And she is surprised my husband tolerates this and stays with me because I am physically and financial leech that is too lazy to do anything. I lost it. I told her I am not a housewife and I didn't stop working 19 years ago to become one. I told her I am physically disabled and spend half my time in a wheelchair. I told her if anyone was a terrible mom, it was her for not recognizing and taking my medical conditions seriously. I then told her to leave and go back home. I also told her that until she could respect me, my home, and acknowledge my struggles, she was no longer welcome here. She yelled back and said fine, she will not be coming back, packed and went home. When she got home, she told my stepdad and sister her version of what happened. They both started calling me and telling me I was an a-hole for throwing my mom out, and for other things I said. They wouldn't even listen to my side, so I told them I have no problem going no contact with them as well, and hung up the phone. I think I might be TA because she is my mom, and maybe I shouldn't have been so harsh. Well, Reddit, am I the a-hole?
As someone who has no contact with their entire family and was married to someone who was only in contact with his dad, I can say that you can stay no contact, but it helped me when I wrote my side of the story down so it couldn't be interrupted, etc. There are a number of similarities in our mums and families, and you can wait a few days before sending it. However, repeat at the bottom you do not expect a reply and think being no contact is a good idea. It's just this way when questions come up or you don't attend events, the story your mum is spreading is what will become the truth, and I don't see why she even needed to share this in the first place, especially with the sister, and who knows who else, but some people just love bad-mouthing people and trashing them to make problems that may have been solvable unsolvable, and your mum is one of those people. They never get sick of telling such stories. But, you can cure it by shutting up and pulling your socks up. You're just lazy. Right. Per second, ugh, I hate this crap. I have a condition called protrusio acetabuli. Basically my leg bone is breaking through the roof of the socket, leading to intense pain, also up at the same level as metastatic bone cancer, and incredibly limited movement in the hips. My parents believe I'm making it up, and I could run around and work if I wanted to. I've shown them the research. I've even handed them a copy of my X-ray. It did nothing. You can't cure stupid op, and at this point, I think you need to quit trying. Both of us have conditions that severely impact our lives. Mine is potentially curable, though incredibly risky due to how close my nerve is to my socket. I am at high risk of paralysis in that leg if I have hip replacement. Our families just don't get it, and while I wish they did, I think you've handled it the only way you can do. If your mom refuses to listen and show even a basic amount of empathy, you can't allow her to be in your home or life really. Have a careful and gentle hug from the severe pain sufferer, and please, do something nice for yourself today. Even if it's only asking your lovely husband to make you a cup of something. NTA. Absolutely. You're right about people not acknowledging hidden disabilities. I have cartilage damage to my right knee after a pretty bad fall onto a floor with no underlay under the carpet, so just the concrete right under the carpet, at 16. I can literally walk fine during warm weather, but come winter I'm in pain, because even now 12 years later at 28 I can be in the worst pain I've ever felt, because the cold gets into it, because an orthopedic surgeon told me I had to have it removed at 16, because the damage was doing me more damage than good, so instead of waiting until I'd actually stopped growing they did the operation. It still pisses me off when I walk into a disabled toilet looking just fine, when I'm in pain and refuse to use a walking stick, because I'm stubborn as hell, unless my knee has locked at an awkward angle. I find if I ignore the people who claim I'm faking having a fucked up knee then I can get on with my life just fine, because they don't see me at my worst. Plus I'm just doing what I've been told by physiotherapist and putting weight on the damaged knee, because the cartilage damage has caused muscle weakening from my hip to my knee, yet no one cares, because they refuse to acknowledge medical files as proof that there is an actual problem at it. NTA some forgotten word.
Story 2. Am I the a-hole for saying my brother ruined his own life and it's no one else's problem but his? One of my cousins is engaged and they are having a wedding in another state because his future wife has 2 relatives who live there. They are in their 90s and can't travel easily. Everyone else who is invited to the wedding is not as old and is healthy and would have no problem making the 2.5-hour drive there. My parents got upset when they found out about the wedding being there because it means one of my brothers can't go. Legally, he can't leave the state right now because of legal issues. The cousin who is getting married is the son of my mom's sister. When my parents got upset, my aunt and some other relatives tried to convince my cousin's future wife to change the wedding venue. My cousin basically told them to leave her alone and shove it and said he isn't having 2 90-plus-year-olds being taken on an uncomfortable car trip that would be at least 2 hours away. Those venues close to the state border that my mom and aunt and relatives suggested also booked up, and my cousin would have to push his wedding back by a lot. He said the wedding is happening at the original venue, which is in the other state and 10 minutes away from the nursing home. I'm an usher in the wedding, and my mom and aunt are a bit mad I won't try to convince my cousin to move the venue. My brother can't be an usher because of this. My dad also agrees, even though he isn't as vocal as my mom is. Personally, I don't think it is any of my business. The last time my mom and aunt asked me to talk to my cousin on behalf of my brother, I said he is an adult who can do it himself and he has no one to blame but himself because the legal issues are his own fault and no one else's. My mom said the legal problems ruined his life, and I said he did it himself. Now my parents, brother, aunt, and various other relatives are PO'd at me for saying my brother ruined his own life and caused his own problems because they all got told what I said. Am I the a-hole for saying my brother ruined his own life and it's no one else's problem but his?
NTA. He didn't learn the first time and got in enough trouble again to mess up probation. I'm assuming the 2 elderly guests are likely some combo of the bride's grandparents or possibly great-grandparents, depending on how old the various generations were when they became parents and the couple are, to arrange things around them to that extent. That would trump your brother's presence, even if he hadn't done anything wrong. I'd be darned if my grandmothers, may they rest in peace, missed my theoretical wedding because my husband's cousin messed up enough that he couldn't cross the border. You're absolutely right, and at this point it's time for your family to stop making excuses for your brother. Since I know people will ask what he did, his girlfriend was in car accident. He went to the scene and pretended to be a random pedestrian who saw everything from the sidewalk to the cops and the insurance company. He lied about the other driver causing the accident, even though his girlfriend did. The other driver and another car who wasn't involved both had dash cameras that contradicted what he said and showed he wasn't even on the sidewalk. He also forgot the car was registered to both of them, so the insurance company and the cops figured out he wasn't a random witness. There was a criminal court case and a lawsuit he had to go through and another court case for breaking the terms of his probation from the first case. He is still dealing with the fallout and will be for many years. It's not relevant to my question, but I know people will be curious. I'm going to assume with a fuck-up as spectacular as this and your family's complete and utter disregard for this fuck-up and its consequences, your brother was your parents' favorite who could do no wrong in their eye. Your cousin should not have to put their happiness on hold for the sake of your brother's stupidity, and you weren't wrong for calling out your brother's incompetence. NTA. It's no one's fault but his, and your family should understand. Reading the description of what he has done reinforces my belief that he deserves it. But not at the cost of having elderly people being forced to drive an uncomfortable couple of hours just because your brother was in even after your cousin said that all alternatives to cater to your family's issue have failed. They're still calling him an and being pissed at you for taking your cousin's side. Your family needs a hard long look at themselves if they're enabling this type of behavior amongst themselves. Bless your cousin, he's tried, and the last thing he's gonna want is this kind of drama. Don't bend down to their wills and do what is right. NTA. I would have said the same thing. It's odd that your parents are so fixated on your brother going to this wedding to the extent they want someone to change the wedding venue to a different state, no less. Is he somehow the golden child? If so, look what good it did him. He is a liar and a sleaze. And an immature one, given he wants other people to do his whining on his behalf. Why can't he pick up the phone and beg them to change venues? I'd shut this down hard. Tell your family you are not bothering your cousin about changing venues. The venue is set, everyone needs to move on. If they start again after that, end the phone call or walk out.
Am I the a-hole? My grandma, 80s, gave me 17 male, $5,000 and I didn't tell my parents and now they're mad? My grandma handed me a check for $5,000 the other day and I didn't tell my parents. My grandma told me not to because they'd get jealous and prevent me from spending any of it. I agreed with her. A lot of the times when someone gives me money, my parents get furious and try to make me give the money back, or they take it away from me and won't give it back for weeks. Frankly, I don't think my parents even like the idea of me having money at all. When my dad found out about the money, he said I was greedy and selfish. When my mom found out, she said we need to talk. Am I the a-hole for not telling my parents about the check?
The other thing might be the grandma is cut off from the family for being a troublemaker, and this is part of the troublemaking. For example, like, if OP has a sibling that grandma doesn't love due to being adopted, gay, girl, half-sibling act, and grandma is a huge ass to them and now wants to give OP lots of money and gifts in order to A. really show how unwanted sibling doesn't get shit, B. give OP something to fight with his parents about, which would explain how parents found out. Once OP spends some money and doesn't tell his parents about the expensive gift, grandma drops the bomb at the perfect time to maximize drama. I mean, the post has no evidence of any of this. It's just a thought I had to explain why parents are resistant from getting gifts from a grandma. He's an otherwise active commenter who is refusing to answer any of the folks asking that exact question. If granny is of unsound mind, it makes perfect sense the parents want to give it back. He also listed out how he plans to immediately spend every penny of it on hobby stuff, so it's kinda understandable maybe they don't want him to have money if he blows it all when he's soon to be 18 with a ton of upcoming expenses most likely. The fact he's refusing to answer and the fact the parents' reaction makes sense. If granny is a bit off makes me think it's the case here and that he's likely a pretty big asshole for taking her money knowing that. Especially when she was the one who let it slip to the parents about the money after telling him to keep it secret. YTA, I hesitate to call you an asshole, though, because I doubt most 17-year-olds would look deeper into the situation. If your grandma is in her 80s, there is a high chance she could be experiencing some cognitive decline. It's very common for people in early dementia to give away money they can't afford to. Or even just because of loneliness. My grandma was still sharp as a tack at 85, but she emotionally couldn't say no to my dirtbag cousin whenever he wanted something. My parents had to buy her food so she could eat the last couple years, but she still gave cousin her last $200 because he needed a new mic. Cause he wanted to be a rapper. Giving out random $5,000 checks isn't normal, and telling you to lie makes this very shady. It's likely you don't know the full story of grandma's health and finances, so you should have talked to an actual adult before taking that much money from her. Info: do you parents have a complicated relationship with your grandmother? You can find tons of stories on Reddit about grandparents, grandmothers in particular, using money as a control tactic with their grandchildren. Is it possible that your parents could be resistant to accepting money because they don't want your grandma to feel like she has any kind of control monetarily over you or them? And how dare you treat me this way, not let me do this thing after I've been so generous to you? Can your grandmother afford to give you this money? Is she of sound mind? If either answer is no, YTA. How often are you getting gifts of money that this seems like our reoccurring issue? Do you have a history of being irresponsible with money? Do your parents want you to put the money away towards education? Instead of blowing it all on fun stuff, would they make you put a portion away for college? Would they make you put it in savings instead of letting you spend it all? Sounds like they don't take the money for themselves, they just make you give it back to the gifter or hold it for a while before giving it to you. Correct? Making you give it back makes me think maybe the person giving it cannot afford it, or they, the gifter, aren't aware of something. There seems to be important information missing. My kids each have their own savings they are in control. When they want to blow money on junk that breaks, I don't say anything. After it breaks, I say quality over quantity, or you get what you pay for. To have learned to save their money for better quality items or just not waste it on junk. It's an important lesson to teach children. If financial guidance was taught in school, it is my belief we would all be better off. All my kids are grown now. My youngest is almost grown and has just over $800 saved in a bucket. Very proud of him. Recently taught him about interest when his older sister needed $10 cash for football game. Lol. Entitledparents, ask your grandma to open a checking and savings account that is left to you in her will. Tell her to put any money she gives you in that and have her legally put you on the checking account once you turn 18. Otherwise, keep the sums of money to $500 or less at a time. When you turn 18, take them off any account they open for you when you turn 18. You do not need their permission to do this in most cases. A high school checking account at most banks in the US is in your name with your parents as the guarantor, cover any missing funds. If you do not have a checking account in your name solely, get a hold of your social security card, $25, $50 in cash, depends only the opening balance at the bank, and a ride to a bank. Open one ASAP when you turn 18. Your parents are encroaching on financial abuse territory, using their financial status to disable you as an autonomous person capable of making sound decisions. Taking any and every sum of money you are given is not a healthy relationship with money. This will just keep happening if you don't set up boundaries soon. I'm 20 and I've been there. NTA, but you should go and open your own bank account without your parents so that you can begin to start taking charge of your life and talk with your grandmother and let her know what happened. Your parents may have cashed that check in your name, and if so, they effectively stole from your grandmother, and she should be aware that they aren't fair to you. This could lead to many things down the road. Your grandma could rewrite her will to donate all her money to a charity because she sees your parents as greedy. Or she may genuinely want to assist and prep you to be financially ready to leave when you're ready to. Talk with her and be honest. You both have to protect everyone, including your own parents, from bad decisions and hurt feelings. NTA, frankly, your parents sound controlling and financially abusive. This type of behavior won't stop when you're 18. Frankly, I think it will most likely only become worse. Another Redditor said to ask your grandma to secretly open a bank account for you, and when you turn 18 to have her transfer it over to you, and to make sure that you are the only person with access to that account, and I strongly agree with them. If your parents open a joint account where they have access to it, do not use it because legally they can steal all of your money out of that account and leave you with nothing. If you trust your grandma to, I would ask her to deposit all of the money you have now into the account she opened for you, that way your parents can't get to it.